What's going on, guys? It is Monday, October 3rd, and a lot of crazy stuff happened yesterday, which was Sunday, which was NFL game day. And we're going to go over the London game first. Now, this was a great one. Probably top three London games that I've ever watched. Kirk Cousins and Andy Dalton are basically two versions of the same person. You know, it's like Kirk Cousins and then it's Ginger Kirk Cousins. Pretty much the same thing. It was a good game, though. You know, Andy, I thought, played really good, but it's just his team was fucking up. He had a few turnovers. It's like one or two, I think. Maybe he had, I don't know. I know he had a fumble. But the Saints were down, like, they were hurt. They looked like the 2029ers, bro, and they somehow stuck in the game, which is slightly concerning for Minnesota. Not really, but slightly. So the Vikings are 3-1. And I think they leave some things out on the field, but I do believe that this is Kirk Cousins' best team that he's had since he's gotten to Minnesota. And he came in the year after they were just in the NFC Championship and they missed the playoffs, even though they pretty much had the same team. The problem was Dalvin Cook wasn't getting the ball enough. 2019, that changed. 2020, their defense wasn't as good. 2021, their defense was horrible. And this year, good defense. Their running game is struggling, but they do something that not a lot of coaches and teams do, which is stick with the running game even when it's not going great. And that's something that can help you as the year goes on, because eventually you'll break one. Eventually you'll have a good game. And eventually defenses will crack down at the line of scrimmage and they'll get selfish and stingy, and you can hit a big play over the top. That's what constant handing the ball off does, even though you might be averaging like 3.2 yards a carry, under 4 yards a carry. Doing that consistently keeps the defense honest, which is what they did. They added guys like Dalvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith, and Harrison Phillips. And that honestly is what helps the front seven now, because now that you have Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith rushing the passer, and you have Dalvin Tomlinson and Harrison Phillips stuffing the run game, along with two really good linebackers, probably one of the best duos in the league, in Eric Kendricks and Jordan Hicks, that's a solid front seven. Very solid front seven. Their defense is playing better. Harrison Smith is going to be Harrison Smith. The one thing that I do want to point out, Lewis Cine, the rookie, he did get hurt and he had surgery in London, and I do not think he is playing. He's out indefinitely. But yeah, they did a lot. Now, Kirk Cousins hasn't been perfect, but back-to-back game-winning drives against solid teams, you know, it's pretty un-Kirk Cousins, but he stuck through it and he didn't shrink. And I've always liked Kirk Cousins. I always thought he was a really good quarterback, and now he's 3-1 and he has a really good team. He's connecting with his guys. He's gotten Thielen going. The running game, even though it's struggling, it's starting to pick up a little bit. Jefferson it just absolutely cooked Marshawn Lattimore. Now, this is the one thing about Marshawn Lattimore. I like him. I think he talks a lot, and he has games where he will shut someone down, and then he has games where he will just get torched. And I'm not going to lie, I think Mike Evans wants to do a little research on that game with Justin Jefferson. You might want to text JJ, ask him some tips on how to beat Marshawn, because that's his kryptonite. Marshawn Lattimore is his kryptonite. But, yeah, I like the Vikings. I think they look good. I think they look really good. Back-to-back game-winning drives, like I mentioned. Now, that NFC North, it's not a gimmick with Aaron Rodgers. It's not an easy win now with Aaron Rodgers, back on track, and he's gotten guys like Romeo Doubs and Alan Lazard playing good. But I think the Vikings are in a really good spot. The Saints, on the other hand, it was a tough blow, but they were dismantled with injuries. I mean, they had so many injuries, and I got to think that they'll be better. Andy Dalton's he's a veteran, but, I mean, he did what he could in that win. I don't know if you're going to have a quarterback controversy now with New Orleans, because Jameis is throwing a lot of picks, and that's something that we know Jameis for, and it's never pretty, because when he throws picks, he throws a lot of them. And Andy Dalton isn't that kind of guy. He'll get you a play or two downfield, but he's more conservative and safe. And in an offense like this, when you have so many weapons, I feel like that's better off because you have MT probably going to come back next week. Kamara probably going to come back next week. And Olave's playing amazing, and Jarvis Landry's a great target too. Taysom Hill's great. You have a decent O-line. Like, defense is pretty good, but I feel like you have to think New Orleans will be better simply because they're so talented. Like, Tyrann Mathieu signing, Marcus May signing. You got Lattimore still, Cameron Jordan, Granderson, Pete Werner is playing amazing, but right now they're 1-3, and that's tough. That's really tough because they're a talented team. It's a tough division with Brady. I don't know. They're like a field goal away from being 0-4. 1 p.m. slate had a lot of close games, surprisingly. A lot of close games. The Giants are 3-1. It's crazy to think that game was going to give us a team that is going to be 3-1 with literally 9 pass attempts, it felt like, from each quarterback. Every week it feels. I don't think Justin Fields completes more than 15 passes. But somehow they're 2-2. And somehow the Giants are 3-1. Now, the Giants do one thing really well, and that's run the football. They have a pretty good defense, too. I'm not going to lie. They do have a pretty good defense. Not the biggest of names on there, but they have a really good coach in Don Martindale. They have O'Shane Ximines is playing really good up front. Dexter Lawrence is playing really good up front. They're going to get Leonard Williams back. And the secondary is solid. Even though they lost Bradbury, secondary is pretty solid. The only problem that they have is that inside. You can run on them. I feel like they give up some big plays on the run game, and it has to do with those linebackers. They're really weak at the inside linebacker position. But the Bears, they got nothing. They're 2-2, but I feel like right now Justin Fields is in the worst position out of any second-year QB, out of pretty much any quarterback in the league, just because of the roster and the depth. I mean, you're playing backyard football. You're just trying to keep games close. You know you're not going to be able to score a lot of points. Your defense is okay, but again, with an offense like that and just really nothing to lean on, they have a good running game. That's one thing that you can say that they do well, and that's keeping them in games that they arguably should not have won. But the Giants, even though they're 3-1, they have their biggest test by far coming up in London. Early morning game for us on here. Out there, it's like 2:30. But across the river, they got Aaron Rodgers, and those receivers are playing better. You get Tunyon involved. Romeo Doubs looks really good. I've always liked him when he was in preseason. And Alan Lazard. And they got the 1-2 punch at running back, which they're starting to figure out. I want to say to Matt LaFleur, it's really good what he started to do these past 2 weeks, involve A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Put them in the backfield together. They're your 2 best players, arguably, on offense besides Aaron Rodgers. Okay, now, Eagles and Jags. Goddamn. The Eagles are good. They're so good. I really like the Eagles. I think that, like I said before, they are the most complete team in the league. I think that's a fair statement. I really think so. Like, you have a great running game, great defense, quarterback is playing really good. They have an identity. They take the ball away. They do everything well. They're 4-0 for a reason. Jags are a good football team. Now, I said I really like Lawrence, and depending on what happened in the game on Sunday, I don't think it would sway my opinion on Lawrence. I still strongly believe in the Jags because they gave the best team in football a good fight, and they took it down to the last drive. The Eagles right now, they are the best, and they can do everything good. And even though Jalen Hurts is playing amazing, they don't really need him to throw for over 300 yards every game. They kind of just lean on the run game and the defense, and they could score 30 points. It's a very, very interesting way they play football. They play it very methodically. They get down in the red zone. They're efficient in the red zone, and they run the ball in the red zone. They don't try to be cute. They just kind of do what they're good at, and it works for them. But if they need Hurts to throw the ball, he's good at that too. And that's something that, that's a Super Bowl kind of team. That's what good teams really good teams do. Those are the kinds of teams that you see in late January and February that you want to be able to run the ball. The Bills, I love them, but I'm concerned that they can't run the ball. Like, it's one of those things that just that it lingers with you, even though you think that you're good enough. Eventually, it will catch up to you. The one thing that I said before, a few months ago, that Sirianni did one thing well, which was establish an identity when he knew the team wasn't great. Let's just be honest. Their pass rush wasn't the same last year. They had Devontae Smith as their wide receiver 1. A.J. Brown wasn't there. And Jalen was basically in his rookie year starting. But they made the playoffs. And at 9-8, even though they arguably shouldn't have been there because they really weren't that great, but they established an identity. They got there with the run game. And that's a coach that knows what he wants and what he wants out of his players. And that's something that, that's what happens with good teams, like I said. So I think they're the best team in football right now. The Jags, now, I said this before, they're a really good team. And like I said, they were no cakewalk. They put up a fight. I think Lawrence and the Jags still have a chance at the AFC South, but good win by Tennessee. That was interesting. I think Tannehill played his best game. I think that team played their best game easily of the season. After getting blown out by Buffalo to bounce back with 2 big wins, it's good. Good for Tennessee. I think. I don't think Matt Ryan and Houston have a chance. I mean, Matt Ryan and the Colts and Davis Mills and the Texans. I don't think they have a chance. I think it's done for them. I think it's going to come down to the Eagles and the Titans. I mean, the Jags and the Titans for the AFC South. It's going to be interesting. Bills, Ravens. God. I knew it was going to be a close game. All right. There were some things, there was a little bit of weather, and it stopped the game from being as efficient as it could have been. That's 2 17-plus point comebacks that this Ravens defense has given up, and that's literally, that's inexcusable. In 3 weeks, that's happened against Miami and against Buffalo. Now, those are good teams, don't get me wrong. Those are good football teams, but the Ravens are supposed to be a good football team. The Ravens are supposed to be known for their defense and their hit-you-in-the-mouth mentality. They have Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey. They got one of the most talented secondaries in the NFL, and it seems like they can't cover anyone. And I don't know where that's coming from, but I don't know who you blame. I don't know if you can blame the defensive coordinator, or you kind of have to blame the players in a way more than the head coach, because they're so out of position sometimes. Like, they're just blowing coverages. Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton, Humphrey, Peters, that's a really good secondary, and you're straight up blowing coverages like crazy. I feel like they're missing a lot out there on the field. They're really sloppy. It's wasting an MVP season from Lamar Jackson. It really is, and it's really bad. They have one of the worst pass defenses in the league, and Marcus Peters was livid at his coach, just yelling, and I can't blame him. I mean, when something like that happens, it's like, why we should not be this bad. Like, I feel like there's certain things that good players like him, they see, and they really can't do anything about, even though they know it's bad. Marcus Peters has been here for a long time, and he's a good player, and he has a right to be mad. So I don't love the call on 4th down when they went for it. I understand it, but it's not a good play by Lamar. Like, instead of backing the Bills up at the 4-yard line, you're giving them a shot to win the game at the 20, starting at the 20. And the call I don't hate. I probably would have taken the points to put more pressure on them, because now they're just playing for overtime or the win. They're not playing for the win, and they have to get into field goal range now. Like, you could be 3-1. You had a 17-point lead though. Like, you have to. As much as I'm putting that on Harbaugh as a questionable call, you could have probably called a better play, but I have to put it on the defense, because 2 times now, 17 or more points you're giving up to let the other team come back. That's not good. You got to get it figured out if you're the Ravens. It's tough. But the Bills, like, they're 3-1, probably the best team in the AFC. I don't know yet. I probably would still put Kansas City out there as the best team in the AFC. And Kansas City can do one more thing better. They can run the ball. The Bills probably got a better defense. They probably have same amount of weapons that in the pass game, but the Chiefs can run. The Bills can't. They straight up can't run the ball. But like I said, as you go into January football, it's like you need to be able to do that. You have to be able to ice games. You have to be able to put pressure on the defense in more than just Josh Allen. Because at some point, if Josh Allen is limping and you kind of need something else to lean on, you got nothing. It's the Davis and Diggs show all game. And Allen's going to run the ball if they really want to get something out of the running game. But what if you can't do that one day? It's concerning. But the Bills are still really good nonetheless. I think they just got to get that figured out. And the Raiders, man. The Raiders, they pick up their first win, and they did it in the exact way that I wanted them to. Run the football. Let your offensive line maul their defensive line. Get a few yards. Keep going, and then break one. And you'll have the defense gashed. And that's what they did. And that was against one of the best run defenses in the league. And their offensive line showed that they were capable. Coming into the game, the Raiders were dead last in rush attempts. Dead last with Josh Jacobs, who should be getting the ball more than 15 times a game. More than even 20 maybe. And they finally did that, and they won. They put up 32 points. They had their best performance of the season, and they did it against a top 5 defense. Now, that's the thing. When you don't have Mahomes or Allen, you can't get away with not running the ball. You have to be able to run the ball. Even in this NFL where times are kind of changing, that will win you games when you need it to, being able to run the football. Jacobs looked fresh. He looked good. That's his peak. That is 140 yards, 2 TDs. That's what he can do. And they weren't doing anything special. They were just going under center, like no fullback really for the most part, and they were just letting him pick a hole and run through it. Their offensive line played their best game of the season. Everyone really on that team played the best game of the season. They forced turnovers. They got to Russell Wilson. Their defense looked better overall. It was interesting. Now, for the Broncos, Javonte Williams tore his ACL and LCL. He's done for the year. That's tough. And Gordon has fumbled 4 times in 4 games this season. Like, that's bad. Some running backs don't fumble at all in one season. And you got Gordon fumbling 4 times in the first 4 weeks. That's really bad. The one thing that I can say that I've been hearing everyone say, and I agree with, is that the Broncos don't have an identity. Like, for the life of me, I can't figure out what it is that they do good and do good consistently, because there's really nothing besides their defense, arguably. But they've had some shaky plays. They can run, but sometimes they get away from it. And now Williams is down. I don't know how the running game is going to look. Russell Wilson finally looked like Russell Wilson, but you got these 3 other things that now you got to worry about. Like, it's kind of just this roller coaster. It's like a horror movie, you know? It's like a bunch of jump scares. Like, you think you're in the clear, and then holy shit, like someone's right behind you. You think everything's okay again, and then you get jump scared again. Someone's in the mirror behind you, and then you think you're okay. You think everything's going well, and then boom, another jump scare. There's a ginger 2 feet to your left, and you're like, oh my god, that's Denver. That's the Broncos offense. Literally, they're just a horror movie. Kansas City is amazing, bro. Like, there's a few things that I can't get over. Like, I love actors, right? I love acting. Like, you can see a good actor in their element, and you kind of just like lose yourself in their performance, and you just like kind of forget like this is their job. Like, they're acting right now. It's not real. So I could watch Prisoners and The Green Mile over and over again. I'd still feel the same emotions, and like I'd still kind of grasp the story the same way, and I'll like it the same amount of times, no matter how many times I watch it. It's kind of the same thing with this. Like, Andy Reid's offense and Patrick Mahomes, it's just different. Reid is Steven Spielberg, and Patrick Mahomes is a star. He's just Indiana Jones, you know? They run a show. It's art. What Andy Reid does that's so good, it's not that their plays are always so complicated. When you see it after the snap, it's like, oh, well, it's just a spot concept, or it's like it's a mesh, or like a shovel pass, or a choice route. And it's not the play that itself exactly. It's where the players are lined up and motion to. And the exact inch they are on the field. And it's the fact that he can have three motions and have nothing to do with the actual play call. He takes every legal version of a formation or motion, etc., and he implements that into multiple plays or the same play. And great offenses are never not changing. They're always adapting. Great offenses adapt. Kelsey on an option route, it's like clockwork. Their plays are simple, but what Andy Reid does is a mental game. He keeps the defense guessing about the weird formation he ran 4 plays ago that was a 40-yard touchdown, and have it be the same formation and have it be a 5-yard run for a first down. You know, it's never not innovative. It's always keeping the defense on their heels. You can game plan, you can try to stop it. Like, you'd have to get very lucky. Some teams have. The Colts did it last week. They had the perfect game plan. But it's like trying to confuse Brady or Rodgers at the line of scrimmage. It's basically the same thing. Like, they're just going to Reid is just going to get his guys, and Mahomes especially. What he does at the line, it's like he knows what's coming. He's so young, and he's already doing that at the level of like one of the greats, like Brady. He does it the same way. Brady, Rodgers, like he knows exactly what to get the offense into by the formation of defenses. It's incredible to see it. It's almost like comedic and unfair how good Kansas City is, because they know it. They know it, and they're just going to do what they do because they know you can't stop it. Kelsey literally said in the podcast that he has with his brother, he'll be licking his chops the night before because he just knows that if he gets that defense, like, it's good night. They'll be scoring touchdowns all day. It's like, and they don't have some secret serum. It's just their plays that they just execute it better than any other team. That's what makes them special. So Tampa Bay had a whiff game. Todd Bowles and the defense just they didn't come to play at all. I think the team will find its rhythm, because you have the greatest performance by the offense this year, and then you have the worst performance by the defense this year. It's tough to see, because when you have a team like that with Brady, you expect more. It's kind of the case with a lot of teams. One game it's this problem, one game it's that problem, and they happen to be good teams. It's like the same thing with Denver. But their defense is going to bounce back. I'm not worried about that. Brady's going to be Brady. They'll be fine. They'll be in the playoffs. They'll win that division, barring something crazy. But so I was getting into this before. I wanted to name teams that I think are legit Super Bowl contenders. Like, I think that they can go to the Super Bowl as of week 4 before Monday Night Football. I'm recording this before Monday night. So I'm going to go with Kansas City. I think they're a Super Bowl team, no doubt. The Eagles, I think they're a Super Bowl team. I'm going to put the Bills in there. The only reason I don't put the Bills in there is because of their running game and the fact that they were down 20-3 and they ran 90 offensive plays against Miami and they didn't win. I think there's a little bit of an inconsistency problem, just a little bit. The Eagles, Chiefs, those are my top teams right now. I think they are the best. I'd put the Buccaneers in there. If I had to put one more team, I'd put the Bucs. Like, there's no deny. They're the best roster. You can argue they're the best roster in the league. They have 4 great receivers, a really good running back. That rookie Rachaad White had a really good game yesterday. You don't really know what the offense will look like later in the year, if like Fournette is going to be the guy or if Godwin and Evans are going to be the guys again. But right now it seems to be Evans and just Evans. Julio is going to get involved a little bit. May not even be on the team come December. You don't know. But that offense is good. They signed Russell Gage. They're going to keep him. He's going to be on the team. Offensive line is solid. Not better than last year, but it's solid. And the defense, they had a tough game, but I think they'll be fine. They were playing lights out before that. So I'm going to go Bucks, Chiefs, Eagles, and Bills. Those are the 4 teams that I think they're Super Bowl teams this year, as of right now. That can change, though. And my Super Bowl pick is still staying with the Eagles and Bills. I said that in June or May. I forgot what month, but yeah, that's going to stay because ain't nobody beating the Eagles. Maybe 49ers if they get it right, but right now I don't see them. I don't see them doing it. Like the Rams maybe, but it's hard to repeat. The Niners I want to say yeah, but it's tough with the way they're playing right now. It's after that game, it was tough, but we'll see. Still going to stick with the Bills and Eagles. I think the Bills will figure it out, but the Chiefs are making it really hard for me not to change it because they're really good, man. Like they did not miss a beat with Tyreek Hill gone. Like not a single beat. Like I really thought they weren't going to be good. I even said it. I even said it. I'm not going to own up to it. Like I genuinely thought they wouldn't be good. I was really surprised to see them just handle the Cardinals in week 1 like that. Absolutely handle. Kelsey can't be guarded no matter how old he gets. It's like I said, it's insane. It's really embarrassing when you're the opposing defense playing Kansas City because you're just gonna get exposed. No matter doesn't matter how good you are. We saw it with Tampa Bay. Some headlines. If you missed it, Javonte Williams tore an ACL. Patterson from the Falcons on IR. Jonathan Taylor hurt his ankle. He'll probably miss. He'll likely be out Thursday night. Daniel Jones for the Giants, ankle injury, but it's considered to not be severe. Fucking Saquon Barkley was playing quarterback for 3 snaps. I was watching. I was like, wow. Tyrod goes down 3 plays in, and Daniel Jones was lined up at receiver. And I honestly thought that was going to be the game for the rest of it because I didn't think Daniel Jones was going to be able to go back in. I was like, wow, we're just going to be seeing Wildcat all game. Honestly, that would have been sick. That would have been pretty sick to see Wildcat with Saquon and Matt Breida. Those guys can fly. Like that would they probably would have put up more points if they just kept that going. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. If you think you can put more points with your running back at QB, that's bad. Giants need to get a receiver, man. They need to get a receiver. It's tough because I'm part a Giants fan just because I'm from the area, but I'm obviously 49ers first, but I got to root for the Giants, but. We'll see what happens. It's going to be really interesting down the stretch because Dallas in the NFC East, like they're not going away without a fight. Like that, Cooper Rush is 4-0, 4-0 as a starter, and they're 3-1. That their defense is playing lights out. Like they get Michael Gallup back. Dak is going to come back this week, and Pollard and Zeke look fairly good. O-line is pretty good. As much as I want to say the Eagles are going to run away with it, I don't know. It just really depends on what the Giants do. If they make a trade for a receiver or if they get someone going, if they get Darius Slayton, I really like him. I think he can be involved more. David Sills is kind of getting the majority of the snaps, which is kind of surprising. I don't get the deal with Galladay. I don't really understand like why Daboll just leaves him out. Like I understand like okay, you got to prove that you want to play, right? But if a guy shows up to practice every day and when he's not getting any snaps and he's not really complaining that much, he's not going on social media and making everyone saying oh woe is me and putting a target on everyone's back for the New York media to talk about, like I think that shows his maturity and his willingness to play even though he's not getting played. He's their best receiver right now on the team and he doesn't get any snaps. That doesn't really make sense. I feel like Daboll is just kind of making an excuse for the real reason, which I don't know what it is, but I don't know. If he really lost a step because of he's not with Stafford anymore, that's crazy because he was amazing with Stafford, and when he was on the Lions, he was really good. And the Giants have a number 1 receiver. They just don't use him. It genuinely is a mystery, but. We'll see what the NFC East, what happens in there. The NFC North, I think the Vikings are going to come out of that as of right now. Just because they already beat the brakes off Rodgers. I think they're the better team this year. There's a lot of weird like teams and divisions that you don't really know what's going to happen with them. It's a weird start to the season, that's for sure. Yeah. But we saw in 2017, I remember that the Bills and like the Dolphins, or not the Dolphins. I think it was like the Bills and Jets. They were like leading. They were like really bad, or it was like 2018. I think it might have been. No, it was 2017, and they were like really bad, and they were like leading the division after week 6, and the Patriots were last in the division, and then they ended up going to the Super Bowl. So you never really know after when it gets to Thanksgiving. That's when they say like that's when real football starts. When it gets to Thanksgiving, you'll have the idea of okay, this team's really good, that team's really good. There's injuries here, that team may not be the same. You'll kind of get the picture of what it's going to look like because very rarely do teams that are, you know, considered bad teams get, a push up and they make their way in the playoff spots. At this point, a bad team could be in the playoffs come week 17. Like they'll be you never know when it's right now. It's way too early to figure out even though you can get some ideas, but yeah. It's interesting. Those are the games that I wanted to cover. Those are the teams that I wanted to cover. Leave your opinion. Let me know what you think. Share this if you see it. Thanks for watching. I'll be back Wednesday probably. Yeah. Stay tuned. A lot of great things coming. Thanks so much.